There was a U.S. Army Special Forces trooper in the Vietnam War who was recommended for the Medal of Honor 3 times in a 13-month period. The first 2 were downgraded to a Distinguished Service Cross and a Silver Star, but the final recommendation awarded him the Medal of Honor. How he earned these 3 medals made him a legend, but my favorite story of his was probably the most epic 4th of July prank ever played by American soldiers during wartime. It didn't even happen on the 4th of July, but because it involved firecrackers, cherry bombs, and M80s, I'm counting it. In 1967 and 1968, Sergeant First Class Robert Lewis Howard served as a member of Command and Control Central, one of the 3 subcommands of the highly classified MAC-V SOG. During one of his missions behind enemy lines, his team was following a North Vietnamese Army battalion of about 500 soldiers as they moved along Laotian Highway 101. His small reconnaissance team consisted of less than 10 men, with 3 Americans and maybe 6 Montagnard Special Commando Unit soldiers. Howard's team secretly shadowed this battalion until nearly dark, when the NVA set up camp near the highway. Now that they were stationary, this made them a prime target for air attack, but heavy overcast would prevent aircraft from putting accurate bombs or rockets on target. Howard knew there was no chance to hit this target before dark, so he probably figured this was a target that would get away. Then his 1-1, or assistant team leader, Sergeant Robert Buckwheat Clow, had an idea. Clow was carrying 2 unique pieces of equipment. They were Nightingale distraction devices, which were 3-foot by 4-foot mesh screens that had a long fuse leading to multiple clusters of firecrackers, cherry bombs, and M80s. When activated, after a predetermined delay, it would start popping and mimic an actual firefight, with bursts of fire, pauses, sporadic blasts, and more bursts, overall lasting about 10 minutes. These Nightingale devices were inspired by the dummy parachutes dropped by the Brits all over Normandy during the pre-dawn D-Day landings, with some of them having firecrackers to convince German defenders that real paratroopers were descending from the sky. The Nightingale devices that Clow carried were designed and built by the CIA and meant to be used during either false insertions or false extractions. Now, SOG recon teams were mostly inserted by helicopter, and a helicopter landing in an open area had an unfortunate tendency to attract every NVA unit in the area to investigate if an American team was indeed on the ground. These devices would be ignited with a preset delay by SOG teams during false insertions and would be tossed on the ground while the recon team would stay aboard, lift off, and fly away. Once the firecrackers started detonating, all NVA units in the area would immediately start converging towards the firefight, assuming fellow soldiers were in contact with the enemy. Then the helicopters would land at another HLZ miles away, while the NVA were theoretically distracted on the wrong HLZ. So Clow's audacious idea was to low-crawl into the middle of this NVA battalion, light off the time delay on both Nightingale devices, and then sneak back out before the fireworks started. How could Howard say no? So when it got fully dark, Clow and 1 Yard spent 7 hours of incredibly slow and stealthy movement among sleeping NVA soldiers and alert guards to set these 2 devices off using a 2-hour delay, allowing Clow and the Yard to quietly low-crawl out of the encampment back to their team. Then they waited and watched, and these 2 Nightingale devices started going off, starting the most terrific firefight Howard and his team had ever seen. The NVA battalion thought they'd been infiltrated and were firing at each other in the darkness, reacting to muzzle blasts aimed in their direction. Though the devices only lasted 10 minutes, the firefight they started lasted close to 2 hours. As it started to get light, the NVA officers finally got control of their troops, and the remnants of the battalion retreated into the jungle. Howard's team then went down to take a look and found bodies everywhere. It was the best friendly fire incident of the entire war, all due to Buckwheat Clow and a Montagnard commando. Happy 4th of July.